Hello, I'm Jim, and welcome to the Oh So Spurs podcast. Alongside a licensed coach, JJ, we're going to be dissecting our win against Leeds. How are you, JJ?
I'm good, Jim. Good to have a victory under the belt pre-international break for once.
Yes, they've been few and far between. I think that's our first in over 2 years, isn't it? October 2023, I believe you have to go back for the last time we did that. So, yes, that leaves us with a buoyant feeling going into a break. But the game itself, Spurs won. We scored 2 goals. There's question marks over whether the goal we did concede could have been avoidable. So those all sound really positive, and we'll talk about those things. But we'll also look at areas in which Spurs need to kick on from and continue this momentum on so that we can find our rightful place. We call it nothing's rightful in the league, but where I see Spurs as a club in the Champions League, in the biggest European competition on a regular basis and challenging for trophies. For the game, JJ, so should we start with the first let's just start with the summary of the performance as a whole, really. The antagonist versus protagonist parts, we did one of those better than the other, you feel?
Yeah, I think, again, we should always point out the fact that if anybody thought we were going to fix the way that we're going to progress the football as an attacking unit and as an attacking team with this run of fixtures that we've had recently, very little time on the training ground, still plenty of players missing, still bedding new players in, then that was never going to happen. We're looking for signs, we're looking for hints, we want to see what the coaching staff are trying to do. They changed it again. They've changed the formation, the starting lineups. Again, that kind of thing. There will come a point when starting lineups are slightly easier maybe to predict when if everyone who's available is there, it will be easier to predict what you're going to do in an away game against a team like Leeds and in a home game against a team like whoever. But at the moment, it does look like the coaching staff are still searching for that mix that's the best for them. And we were good today from a few perspectives. Obviously, the resilience side, I think everybody would admit that is a classic type of game, pre-international break, away to a newly promoted team that Tottenham Hotspur are very capable of losing, very capable of, even going 1-0 up, being pegged back, the psychology shifts, and then we just can't get back in it and maybe concede another, or we get out of it with a disappointing draw. So again, we're showing plenty of resilience. We've come out with a victory after 3 draws on the spin. It felt like the performances in the previous 3 games were heading on a downward curve. And today we've picked it up. We've not been brilliant, but we've got out of there. It's a hard place to go. Terrible, really difficult conditions, heavy rain and all that kind of stuff. The home crowd, difficult place to go. And we've come out with 3 points and we've seen a game out. That's all positive stuff. And when Leeds gave us the opportunity and gave us the green light to play, we did play and we did some nice things. But we still haven't found the solutions and found that way that we're going to move the football around the football pitch or from back to front or play through the phases, I think, to the satisfaction of what Tottenham fans want to see.
Yeah, and like you said, it's going to take time. Frank said it himself in an interview. It might have even been yesterday or even today, but he said, this isn't Football Manager. I'm dealing with humans, is the line. And we talk about this a lot because you often see now, very oversimplified views on how you fix Tottenham in inverted commas and all those kind of, headlines. Reality is what looks really easy to do and obvious from the sidelines, you've got to get human beings to execute on that in a super high pressure environment with half a second on the ball when their whole career has been around making things natural to them that are different to that. And then you're telling them to change that. And then it's just so complex and difficult to make those changes. And it takes so much time. And when you were touching on it earlier, but the run of games we're in where you've got a game every 3 to 4 days, you're lucky to get 1 full day's training between a game that's not focused on rest and recovery, which is focused on tactics on the training pitch. There's not much time for Frank to get these progressive patterns organized and drilled into his players, right? It's going to take a while and we need to be patient with him. But good to see improvements, players fighting for him, resilience from the team. I think there's 2 results in the bounce. I think Spurs, as of the past, would have probably lost, and we've got a win and a draw out of them. So brilliant. That's improvements. But Mohamed Kudus, he's adding a lot of value to the squad from the outside. It seems he seems to be an absolute monster in terms of his ability to run with it, progress with it. Well, what did you make of him? How important is he to the side?
Yeah, hugely important. He's obviously come in and cemented himself as a starter on that right hand side. One of the criticisms that I've made of Kudus is end product, right? So sometimes that final ball, the lack of goals, those are the kind of things that you say, okay, what takes you from being a really, really good player to an elite top four player is those sides of the game. And what we had today is we had end product. So he still did all of the battling, all of the incredible stuff. I thought the referee was an interesting one today because he let a lot go, and it didn't feel like there was lots of like nasty stuff in there, but it was just a really physical, quite enjoyable game, if you like that side of things. It was a little bit old fashioned, and the referee let plenty go. And Kudus was getting the attention of, sometimes two players, sometimes even a third player coming in, and unbelievably is able to secure possession, keep it. Now, there is a side of that can be a little bit frustrating in terms of slowing the play down, how long it takes to secure, how long it takes to recycle or to move the ball on. But he is absolutely elite at firing the ball into him, and he doesn't give it away. He's not going to concede possession. He's not going to let a transition happen against you. And so all of that stuff that he's been doing all season pretty much allied with the fact that he had a great finish for the winning goal. Lovely to see him driving inside and then reversing the ball back inside the near post. A really, really good finish. Very Deki Kulusevski finished that one. So delighted to see it. And he deserves all the praise today because he had a very good game.
Well, he did. But there was a player, I feel, who got quite a bit of criticism for the goal we conceded today. But I do want to... This is really biased of me to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to abuse my right as a host to caveat a question that almost leads you to an answer that you completely disagree with, JJ, and say disagree. But Vicario, he's got a reputation at the moment as a weaker link in our side. And when he parried that ball, gave us a little bit of flashbacks to our last game against Wolves, where there was a similar incident where it perhaps could have been parried away to a better place. Initially, I thought, not again, I'm getting a vibe of a theme here, but then I watched the replay and I saw it take a nasty deflection, and then I saw, I think it might have been Udogi who stood there, not react to the loose ball, and the attacker just had basically a free hit tapping into an own goal. And then I saw a beach ball coming on the pitch, and Vicario glanced at it, utterly confused about what was going on. So I thought, I know some of the comments are going to say, why are you defending him? I did think this time there was some valid reason to say, hey, a few things didn't go his way there that most keepers might have struggled with. Anyway, do you disagree? Do you agree? What are your thoughts on this one?
I'm not giving you the beach ball. You can't have the beach ball. I'm afraid that's not. He only saw that at the end because it came. The wind blew it in once they'd already scored. But yeah, we saw two sides of Vicario today. We saw a couple of moments with really, really important stops, really important saves, and stuff that he's really good at. Top couple in the Premier League maybe in terms of his shot stopping at times. But we saw other bits. We saw the bits that we don't like to see. We saw him with his feet not the best, flapping under a couple of high balls as well early in the game, and then one towards the end of the right at the beginning of the game, actually. And I think, was it Joe Roden got in at the back post? So again, we've seen the two sides of it, and I know if you've set your stall out that you're upset with Vicario right now, you're looking at all the stuff in that game and you're getting really upset and saying, well, you see, it's all the same. And if you want to defend Vicario, you're focusing on beach balls coming flying onto the pitch. So it's one of those. He's had a mixed bag. He's had a 5 out of 10 game because he's done a couple of things brilliantly, and he's certainly in key moments. And at the end of the game, you're leading 2-1, and there's a big moment. You make the save. We can say Europa League final. He made a huge mistake that Mickey's dragged him out of, but he makes two very big saves at the end of the game. We win a trophy. Today we're 2-1 up, and we're going home with 3 points. He makes a big save, and it makes a difference. So you give him the credit for that. And then you get in and you work with him on the bits that are not going well. And I do feel the parry was part issue with their goal. Certainly, destiny's on his heels. He needs to be reactive in that situation. He could have definitely helped his keeper out as well. So for me, both sides of the coin, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Well, you have to look as far back as Pat Jennings, I think, to look for the last time Spurs had a truly all-round goalkeeper who could do everything to an elite level for the time of football. When we tried to date it back, I think you look back at Lloris and you think, what a wonderful goalkeeper we had, but I still get these haunts of him flapping at crosses from time to time. I still get flashes of his distribution as the game evolved into keepers being more involved in those areas and not being his strength. Paul Robinson, another brilliant shot stopper. What a boot he had as well. He wanted to hit it long. He scored that goal against Watford. But again, I just get these flashes of crosses not going his way. Gomez is probably, profile-wise, weirdly, a way more extreme version of Vicario, where he pulls off these worldies. What a shot stopper. Loved him. But he just had it in his locker just to just do something that you think, what? That's not a goalkeeper's, that's what I expect an outfield player to do in goal, to miss that one. But anyway, Vicario's not as extreme as that. But there you go. I've done it kind of in reverse order, but I'm going back to the first goal now. So we've gone from the third goal to the second, to the first. Matisse Tell, he's another one who's, when his name hit the team sheet, it was met with two typical types of comment. One was, so pleased for him, give him another chance, we've got to get behind the kid. The other was, oh, no, not him, he's not the guy for Spurs, why did we sign him? I was delighted to see him score, so you can guess which side I'm on. What did you make of his performance? Any improvements there that you noticed, or anything different from previous games?
Yeah, he had a good first half, particularly. He faded a little bit before changes were made in the second half. But yeah, he did. Delighted for him to get a goal. He generates the mechanics he's got. He generates huge amounts of power, absolutely bundles of powers. If you can get him, getting those powerful shots off from the edge of the box, they are going to be difficult for goalkeepers to deal with. Obviously, he gets a bit of a deflection on the one today that loops it over the keeper, but you've got to have a go to get that bit of luck. And then he had a header soon afterwards, which was good because I've not seen him use his head at all. So it's good to see that, ball chipped over in between two defenders and he gets up above his defender and gets a good head on it. So delighted to see that. He hits the crossbar, but again, it's small things. He's getting into good positions. He's receiving the ball in the penalty area, which is what we want. We've been really, really struggling to get anything recently with Richarlison inside the penalty area. We've not been able to get him the ball, and he himself has not been able to generate anything or hold the ball up. Seeing us do something different, obviously, today, without having Richarlison in the 9 at the beginning of the game, you're not looking to play long and to have it held. So you're going to build out wide, or you're going to try and come through the middle and then feed him. And we managed to do that. We managed to get him in a couple of good positions. And he gets a goal. So from that perspective, it's a step forward. It's, I think a lot of people are in that same camp as they are with Vicario. You've made up your mind on a player. He's a young player. He's going to need minutes. He's going to need time. He's going to need opportunities to play in the position to kind of cement it. And there's going to be different games that suit him. So today, I thought pretty good. It's definitely a step forward. Delighted for him to get a goal. And he had a couple of other good moments as well, trying to stitch the play together. But hopefully, there's plenty more to come. And I went early on Matisse Tell just from what I'd seen when we signed him, and I said he's number 9. I don't think he's he's a left-sided player. He still seems to suit the Premier League better on the left. But seeing him in that forward line today, giving us an option, good to see. Goals in there, you can't ask for much more.
Yeah, and another one I want to give a little bit of praise to, won't spend much time, but just Wilson Odegaard. It wasn't amazing today, but I wanted to say he had a good work rate today. He looked natural in the left wing, ran at play, just looked a little bit more confident. It was kind of nice to see that. And a little more credit to Tell as well, that I felt there was a few moments where Kudus, Odegaard and Porro and Udogie, actually all of them had opportunities to put the ball into him in quite good areas, and they didn't get their passes right. And you think on another day, if they get those right, you're suddenly talking about 2 goals from Matisse Tell, and you're saying, wow, man of the match, etc., great performance. So yeah, it was very pleasing for him. But we're not going to go overboard on one goal that took a deflection, but we're going to say, well done, awesome. Hope he continues that momentum, because he's obviously got a lot of potential. Siemens as well, I just want to touch on him, because yes, I think he's physically got to him, adapt to the Premier League a bit. But there's these moments, you keep seeing them. I forget the exact period of the game the phase of play was in, but there was this just brilliant little kind of one touch and fancy bit of work. I think it was with Kudus who did. Do you know which bit I'm referring to? And I thought, yes, we've really needed that at Spurs for a while. It got me quite excited. But did you make much of his time on the pitch today?
Yeah, he did okay today. One of the things about him is he's technically very, very good, and he's already shown that he can beat a player with ease if he's got the opportunity to go either way as well. So when he's playing in the middle, he's got more opportunity to stand up his opponent, and he can go off either side with his right foot. So he can beat you on the inside and he can beat you on the outside. And that is absolutely vital. What we're going to need to do with that, if he's going to continue to play in the 10, is we're going to have to start getting the movement from the 3 players normally that are going to be in and around him. We're going to have to get those little channel runs so that he can play those passes and really move defences about. But yeah, some lovely stuff. He showed today that he can do that kind of stuff. He also showed a bit of youth, and I have absolutely no idea why he's trying to do a Rabona pass to Kuti, I think it was, who found himself in the left wing forward position, and I absolutely would have backed Romero to smack that into the back of the net, by the way, if he'd have been put in that position. And yeah, I didn't see it on the live coverage, on the game coverage, but I'm pretty sure Romero would have gone into the changing room and absolutely torn strips off him for trying to do that in that moment. But by the same token, I think he set Porro away with a lovely little scoop pass over the defence. So it's the kind of thing a number 10 does. You've got the tools to unlock the opposition, and Porro fluffed his lines with the ball over the top because it's probably slippery balls. Yeah, did well, showing lots of things you want from a number 10. And again, I think we're still going to see plenty of him coming off the left-hand side, because there are going to be teams where we want a lot more energy and legs in the middle 3. But you can see that against teams where we play that, that double pivot, that defensive double pivot, you can definitely see him starting to build a platform to play in the centre.
Well, in the same vein that, you're not buying Paulinho for Rabonas, you're not buying Siemens for his, tackling and his defensive capability in our box. But I just love, I can't help but be a bit biased to just loving players that have flair, and just thinking when our team is at a point of, whatever we see it at completion with Thomas Frank, is I just would like to see a world in which he's given the freedom to take on that role, similar to what, the Hazards and the Bales of the world get, where they just kind of get them the ball, give them space, give them opportunity, and they'll do great things, because they're always the funnest players to watch, right? But I'm just getting a tiny bit ahead of myself over a one pasture play, just a tiny bit, referencing Eden Hazard and Gareth Bale there. But there you go.
No pressure.
Yeah. Well, look, thanks a lot, JJ. It was good to get 3 points. Let's all enjoy that international break and the rest of the games on the weekend with no pressure on Spurs. Yeah, so come on, you Spurs.
Come on, Tom.